Hello Wolfpack, we're looking at Bitcoin again today, and overall the trend still remains downwards. We're still in this longer term descending wedge formation. I did point out yesterday in my Bitcoin video that we have some shorter term channels going on, and we will be looking into those channels in just a second here on Bitcoin. But first and foremost, let's evaluate the longer term trend, which is downwards, and it's the wedge formation that's been forming since mid-October. We're still bouncing within this range. We've recently actually come up and we've attempted to break through to the top. However, we're rejected by this red, I'll delete these so you can see it. This red uptrending support line rejected us, so we dropped below that. Now we've actually rejected off it as resistance, and that's acting as a strong resistance zone now on Bitcoin. And so that could be a reason why I'm actually going to be retracing or retracting part of my claim from yesterday. I thought yesterday, looking at the charts, that we could be seeing a 45.5k Bitcoin this week. I think that's possible still. However, I don't think it's as likely as I would have said in that video. I think I overlooked some information here, and the information that I overlooked would have come from this uptrending red line here, which I'm actually going to make white right now so you can see it a bit more clearly. And you can see that we tested this for support multiple times here, and here, and here, and we dropped below it, came back down to it, rejected, and headed back down to the downside. And so, look, that's bearish, and it was a bit of an overlook by me. I should have been more precise looking into Bitcoin yesterday. However, I've skipped past that, and looking at it this morning, it's very clear to me that is the pattern we're seeing right now, a clear rejection pattern on Bitcoin. Now, that's not to say that we can't bounce up, and what I did look at yesterday, which I'll look at again in a second, does suggest that we do bounce up, but it is to say that there's a lot more resistance there than I would have previously anticipated on Bitcoin. So, look, I'll be changing the title of that video as not to mislead anyone who won't actually watch the video. But as for today on Bitcoin, let's look into that trend a bit further in a second. But first and foremost, we can see that this upwards trend has been slack, to say the least. The volume has been descending. The short-term upwards trend, right? Volume has been descending the entire time. We've seen very, very, very low volume. Not really any bullish divergence. Not really any, not really any pump due to the MACD cross as well. Just overall underwhelming price action that's not really convincing me that the bottom's in at all for Bitcoin. Seeing as that we need to be taking back 53k in order to be bullish in the market again, and seeing as that all of our critical kind of resistance zones, such as the Gaussian channel, bull market support band, Ichimoku, cloud, 50 and 200 day SMA, all kind of ranging below that point right now. It means that it's going to be a task and a half to get back above 53k. It's going to be very, very, very difficult for Bitcoin, and I honestly don't see it happening. I think that the absolute best case scenario for Bitcoin is a rejection off of 53, but that is very unlikely to even get to that point, to be honest. I think that, right now, the bounce off of this 40k support zone isn't even certain at all. I would even say that it's becoming less and less likely by the day, and every day we kind of stay in this region lurking under this red uptrending line, we have a more chance to break down to the downside. And obviously once we break the 40k support, the next logical reason to hold for support, the next logical region to hold for support would be 30k, the 30k major support block. Yeah, there's a few different support zones within the 30 to 40k region, but they're not major by any means, and they probably won't lead to any significant bounces. If we lose 40k, I'm looking at 30k right off the bat, and that's very, very close to my original prediction of the 200-week SMA by November, which would be at around 25k, right? And who knows? It could happen way sooner than November. It could happen in 2 months. These dates that I'm looking at, these time frames that I'm looking at, they're very hit or miss. They're rough speculation, and November is what I'm looking at currently. But if we don't see any dead cat bounces, it's going to get there a lot quicker. And we have to be open to that idea. But it would make sense still, even now, even after this extensive consolidation and downwards trend, it would make sense still that we see a bounce off of the 40k region. It would make sense. It just doesn't seem likely that it will take back 53k. But looking at the 4-hourly chart, let's go ahead and take a look at that, because this is what I was very interested in looking at yesterday, and we'll delete everything here so we can have a clean slate. In fact, let's not delete everything from this chart because I won't be able to get it back. Let's go to the Bitstamp chart, which I think I've already drawn it out on. Yes, I have. Okay, so this is what I looked at yesterday on Bitcoin, and this was kind of what some of the reason as to which I thought it would be entering some sort of impulse move to the upside. What we saw, what we have been seeing throughout this entire 40k test, which was January 5th onwards, is an uptrending channel formation and a downtrending channel formation within the uptrending channel formation. And the reason why I was semi-bullish for a short-term move yesterday is because I saw that we retested the uptrending channel and the downtrending channel simultaneously in the same spot and bounced to the upside. Now, keep in mind, I made this video yesterday. I can't remember the exact price point, but I think it was around 41,500. I could be wrong. And we did see a little bounce off of that region up to around 42,600. And so we did see a bounce. However, we've rejected from this uptrending yellow channel again, and it's very likely that we could just be swinging back to the downside here and break to the downside on both of them. Who knows, right? But you know, I think that the evidence that was showing itself at the time that video I made yesterday was you know, bullish evidence, and there still is a bullish case to be made that we could be, you know, swinging back to the upside of this channel and doing something like this, right? And this is kind of what I was predicting. It makes perfect sense. Okay, it definitely isn't unlikely to happen. You know, usually when you see a test at the bottom, the next logical move is a test of the top. But it doesn't need to happen. And so, you know, ultimately, I don't think I'm going to give this kind of scenario much credit. And regardless of whether it actually happens or not, who cares, right? Because, look, you know, 45.5k is only a 7% move from this region. Yeah, that's a good swing trade, but at the end of the day, the long-term trend is downwards. And if we go up to 45.5k, you know, what's the most likely scenario? Well, the most likely scenario is we reject from 45.5k and then head below 40k. All right, so the longer-term trend is 100% downwards, regardless of what happens in the short term. And, you know, even if we break above, say for some, you know, stroke of luck here, we break above 45.5k, well, then the next resistance we've got to look at is 48k, right? Then after that, the next resistance is the 53k region, which is holding for a resistance in multiple areas on the price chart. If you go all the way back to early 2021, you can see 53k is a major area of resistance. So, look, you know, regardless of what actually happens, I still think it's going to be bearish, and I'm not really taking into account short-term moves right now. You would have seen my Twitter post if you follow me on Twitter. If you don't, I'm not just shilling myself. I'm genuinely serious. I post a lot of informational content on Twitter that, you know, doesn't make it to YouTube sometimes, and I highly recommend you following me on Twitter if you like the content. That's not just a shill. That's a genuine recommendation. But you know, I posted on Twitter that, hey guys, I'm not actually going to be trading anymore in this price region because I don't see the point. I think that the market right now is very much on a knife's edge. Bitcoin is, if we go back to the Coinbase chart here, we can see quite clearly Bitcoin is in, you know, on the definition of sitting on the edge of a cliff, right? This support block here at 40k, if that breaks, there's really not much to stop us to going all the way to 30k, and altcoins will crash another 30 to 40% if that does take place, which is just terrible, right? And that's why I'm not even thinking about holding altcoins right now, because what's the point, right? If Bitcoin's on a knife's edge of a, you know, 25% drop, alts will drop 40%. It just doesn't seem to add up really that well at all. And if we're looking at Ichimoku on the weekly chart, right? Sorry, on the weekly chart, if we're looking at Ichimoku, and we can see that the Gaussian channel and the Ichimoku cloud kind of line up to the same region, and they kind of act, the center line acting at around 40k. All it takes is one weekly close below 40k, and then that chain reaction is going to happen when we drop all the way down to that 30k region for support, and possibly even below that, you know, after extensive consolidation. So, you know, it's not worth it, in my opinion, to be trading right now when we're on this much of a cliff. If you are going to be trading, use a tight stop loss. It goes without saying. But even with tight stop losses, one of the reasons why I don't trade is because when we're sitting on major support or about to take major resistance, there's a lot of liquidation traps going on in the market as people try to flush people out, fake people out, and say, oh, it's going to go below, it's going to go above, right? I mean, we've seen this before. If we go back to the daily chart, we can see that, you know, just about a week ago, you know, you haven't even closed below 40k yet, but we see all of these wicks downwards below 40k, specifically a wick downwards. It doesn't show very well on the index here, but it wicked all the way down to 38k. And, you know, a lot of people who are leverage trading would have thought that that's a perfect shorting opportunity. We've just lost 40k, and a lot of people who had stop losses just below 40k trying to trade Bitcoin would have got flushed out. And so, you know, when you're sitting on major support, it's very easy to be manipulated and very easy to lose your bags to kind of scam action, right? Scam price action. And so it doesn't really seem to be favorable for me to be trading in this region. I'm just going to be waiting it out as of right now. The way I see trading is you don't need to be constantly trading, because all it takes really is a few good trades. Yeah, honestly, a few good trades a year, and you could get basically a yearly income from that, depending on your position size, depending on what. But that's kind of the overarching thing. It really depends what kind of trader you are. If you're a scalp trader, you could be trading, or you could just wait a week, right? Wait a week. This consolidation period in the 40k region, we should have a definitive kind of move within maybe a week, maximum 10 days, right? And so if you can't wait a week or 10 days to get higher, probability of making profit on your next trade, I would kind of suggest that you probably shouldn't be sticking around in this market. Maybe go AFK for a while, because patience is one of the critical kind of keys to success in trading and investing. And even if you're a day trader who's constantly seeking that kind of quick, you still have to have patience, because you need to find the right move in order to trade it. Some day traders, I remember personally, me in May, for example, in May, that May to July correction, which I'm going to circle right here, I spent literally, like, at one point, I think 10 days of watching the charts for 8 to 12 hours every single day, and I didn't take one single trade because I just didn't see the profitability of it. And then I finally, after all of that watching and waiting, I called the bounce on the day it happened, and we got back into the market on the day it happened. Now, at that point, I didn't have much of a following, so not many people would remember that. But you can go back and look at my Twitter posts, look at what I said, Telegram posts, except my Telegram group doesn't exist anymore. But go to my Twitter from that time period, and I've posted it multiple times, retweeted it. It's all about patience. And at the end of the day, the reason why you want to be sticking around in the market, even if you're not trading, because a lot of people would say, well, if you're not trading, you shouldn't really, what's the point of sticking around and watching the charts? Just a bit of a waste of time, right? Because there's no gain from it. Well, as I just explained, I wasn't trading throughout most of this correction here, most of this 2.5 month correction, but because I was looking at the charts constantly, because I was aware of what was going on, I was able to call the bottom to the day. And sometimes in this kind of line of work, even if you're doing it as a hobby, if you're doing it as a full-time job, it's not going to pay you consistently, but when it does pay you, it's going to pay you massively. And so, looking at it from a job perspective, I didn't get paid for 2.5 months in this region. And then, I got rewarded by actually calling the bottom and maximizing my profits on the way up. And a lot of people can't do that. And I think trading is idealized by social media and Twitter. It's made to seem like it's just this dream job and you're just constantly making money every single day. It's not the case at all. In terms of trading, I probably trade maybe 30 to 60 days of the year, which means that most days I'm not in a trade at all. Most days I'm fully out of the market. Obviously, that doesn't include Bitcoin. I'm a big believer in cryptocurrency, so I have a bag of Bitcoin that I hold forever, but I don't consider that a trade at all. I consider that as basically my savings. And so, going off on a little bit of a tangent here, a little bit of a rant, but I like doing this kind of thing. I like kind of spreading knowledge, and I definitely should make a video about something like this in the future, because even though those videos don't do well, I know that the people who watch them actually find them very, very useful, probably more so than a Bitcoin daily update that I like doing as well. But I'm just saying you could probably get this anywhere. But if you like my opinions in the market, obviously keep watching. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.